Okay, so we trust what you're saying. And thank you for even sharing the time with us about this because I thought the Young Thug trial was something. This, the Diddy case might be the biggest case ever in the history of cases, as far as what I know about law and what I've seen, right? Like, I don't know of anything that has polarized the internet the way that this has because my YouTube feed is inundated with videos on Diddy. Every other video is about this, what you're talking about. So thank you so much.
Things in the motions hearing, like being participating in voir dire, requesting that the